What happens when the judge, the one who decides right from wrong, is the one breaking the law? This isn't fiction. This isn't a movie. This is real. And one woman, Pam Bondi, risked everything to bring the truth into the light. This story isn't just about justice. It's about what happens when someone dares to say, "No one is above the law, not even judges." Buckle up. Order in the court. The sound echoed through the chambers like thunder. But what followed wasn't the calm of justice. It was the storm of truth. The courtroom had always been a place where justice was served, or so the public believed. But that illusion shattered the moment Pam Bondi stepped back into the spotlight. Not as a prosecutor, not as a politician, but as a truth seeker. And this time the person on trial wasn't a criminal. It was the system itself. It all started when a 26-year-old court clerk named Rachel Diaz, who had just started her career in Florida's legal system, noticed strange inconsistencies. Files would go missing before certain rulings. Legal decisions seemed bought. She began connecting the dots, and what she saw made her stomach churn. The corruption wasn't outside the court. It was sitting on the bench. Rachel knew she couldn't stay silent, but she was just one person. So she turned to someone she admired. Someone with a reputation for never backing down. Pam Bondi. Pam listened to Rachel's story, read the documents, reviewed the secret recordings. Then she leaned forward and said 6 words that would ripple across the country. "No one is above the law." Those words were more than a promise. They were a warning. The walls of the courtroom, once untouchable, were about to be shaken from the inside out. The target? Judge Warren Keller. A man known for his stern rulings, his decades-long career, and his apparent untouchability. But the truth doesn't fear power. It fears silence. And Bondi wasn't about to be silent. Judge Warren Keller had all the marks of a revered man: awards, honorary degrees, guest lectures, and press photos with powerful leaders. To the public, he was a model of judicial excellence. But to those behind courthouse doors, especially Rachel, there was something sinister about how justice was served in his courtroom. Pam Bondi's team began by retracing Keller's steps. One particular case stood out. A real estate tycoon, Michael Thornby, had been accused of massive fraud. The evidence was overwhelming, until Judge Keller dismissed the case on a technicality. Rachel remembered something odd. A closed-door meeting in the judge's chambers the night before the dismissal. Pam's private team of investigators, former feds, ethical hackers, and legal auditors, started digging. What they found was damning. A pattern. Large donations flowed into Keller's so-called justice fund, just days after he ruled in favor of certain wealthy defendants. But this fund didn't exist in any official court budget. And it wasn't just Thornby's case. At least 5 other cases involving influential figures ended suspiciously, with lighter sentences, dropped charges, or bizarre rulings. Keller's financials revealed indirect payments through offshore entities, art donations, and even expensive vacations billed to legal consulting firms that had ties to defense attorneys. Rachel had recorded conversations, not just with Keller, but with secretaries and attorneys whispering about favors and deals. Pam Bondi knew she had enough to launch something big. But she also knew something else. Corruption never works alone. If one judge was compromised, who else was helping cover it up? Who was looking the other way? She took a breath. This wouldn't be easy. Exposing one judge was already dangerous. Exposing a network? That could cost her everything. But Pam had made a decision. The robe doesn't excuse the crime. The media had gathered expecting a routine announcement. Maybe a legal update. A political endorsement. But when Pam Bondi stepped up to the podium flanked by federal investigators and a visibly shaken Rachel Diaz, the entire room tensed. She didn't start with pleasantries. She didn't ease into it. She dropped the truth like a hammer. "I have uncovered evidence of judicial corruption involving one of our most respected judges. And I am here to tell the American people that this ends now." She revealed the timeline. The rulings. The suspicious donations. The secret communications. She even named names: Judge Warren Keller, and 2 other officials being investigated. Screens behind her displayed charts, documents, and audio snippets. The evidence wasn't just overwhelming, it was undeniable. Then came the most chilling part. This isn't just about one judge. This is about a culture of silence, about people in power thinking they are untouchable. Rachel, now visibly emotional, shared her experience. She told the press how she feared for her job, her safety, and even her life. But with Pam Bondi's support, she found the strength to speak out. The press conference was broadcast live on every major network. Social media exploded. Hashtags like #JudgeTheJudges, #PamBondiForJustice, and #NotAboveTheLaw trended for days. Some called Pam a hero. Others called her a troublemaker. But no one could ignore her. Politicians scrambled to respond. Legal experts debated the case on talk shows. Ordinary Americans began questioning rulings in their own communities. In just 48 hours, Pam Bondi had turned a quiet act of whistleblowing into a national reckoning. For the first time in Florida's history, a sitting judge would face criminal trial for corruption. The courtroom, once his kingdom, became Judge Keller's cage. TV cameras lined the hallways. Protesters and supporters gathered outside. Inside, the truth prepared to take the stand. The prosecution laid out everything: audio recordings of secret meetings, financial transfers to untraceable accounts, emails with language like "it's handled" and "the favor's complete," testimonies from clerks, lawyers, and even one former judge who confessed to knowing something was wrong but never speaking up. Keller's defense was aggressive. They claimed the evidence was circumstantial, that Rachel Diaz was a disgruntled employee, and that Pam Bondi had political motives. They tried to paint the case as media-fueled hysteria. But it wasn't enough. When Pam Bondi took the stand, she silenced the room. She didn't talk like a politician. She spoke like a citizen, furious and heartbroken. What message do we send if we let this slide? That justice is for sale? That power means immunity? If one judge can be bought, then every person who stood before him deserves to question their verdict. The trial lasted 6 weeks. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Then came the verdict: guilty on all charges. The sentence: 22 years in federal prison, permanent disbarment, and the beginning of additional investigations into Keller's past rulings. As Keller was led away in cuffs, he turned toward the courtroom gallery. Pam Bondi didn't blink. Justice had finally come for the judge. If this story moved you, if you believe that justice should be blind, not bought, then do one thing right now. Smash that like button to show your support for truth. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because on this channel, we expose lies, celebrate courage, and bring the stories that others won't dare to tell. Should judges be held to a higher standard than anyone else? Your voice matters, so let's keep this conversation alive. Until next time, stay brave, stay loud, and never stop seeking the truth.